Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Nelson, and I'm really honored to be here to speak with some of our practitioners about the translational science of data for frontline atrocity prevention, conflict prevention, and response. As you've heard kind of over the last week, there is a notable surge in collection, analysis, and utilization of seemingly endless amounts of information that pertain, excuse me, to the precipitation, escalation, and mitigation of. Yet, despite these continued efforts to gather data for conflict and atrocity prevention early warning systems, there are significant data gaps that persist and hinder the ability of organizations to detect and or to respond with these early warning, early action systems within the communities that they serve. There remains a significant gap between the indicators used and the analytic methods used in high-income countries and academic institutions, as you've all seen this last week, and those utilized by frontline practitioners. I'm looking forward to having this conversation with some frontline practitioners of EWEA, atrocity and conflict prevention, and hopefully we're missing one of our panelists so far. Hopefully she will join soon, but I'm very much looking forward to this. So we'll start off with some introductions. My name is Erica Nelson. I am the co-director of the Humanitarian Geoanalytics Program and the Signal Program at the Harvard Humanitarian Initiative. And at the Signal program, we utilize user-centric design and translational science in order to bring geospatial science to practitioners that are doing atrocity prevention efforts. Now, in our minds, this user-centric and translational design process is really key to creating impactful, useful, relevant, and sustainable methods for these practitioners that are working within community-based, regional, and national organizations. So with that, I would love to turn it over to Romaldo to introduce himself, to introduce Balloon, and to introduce some of the work that they're doing. Romaldo, can you come on camera and introduce yourself, please?
Of course. Thank you for the time. Hi, everyone. How are you? My name is Romaldo. I'm from Timor-Leste. I'm working for the non-governmental organization, or normally called NGOs. And my position is as a early warning and early response program manager. Would you like me?
Can you talk? I would love for you to talk a little bit about what Balloon does, where do they work, and that sort of thing as well, just to give people a little bit of an understanding of what you're doing.
Okay, I got. Balloon is a local NGO which is based in Gili, the town of the East Timor. And Balloon's working for in all municipality. I mean the 13 municipality which East Timor have. And but right now, Balloon just focus for a few because of the resources. Limited of resource, I mean the financial resource, and Balloon start work. Balloon was found in 2004 and start work in early warning and early response system in 2009.
Brilliant. And what kind of activities do you undertake as an early warning, early response organization?
Yes, Balloon has three main pillars. One is conflict prevention, and the second one is community capacity development. The third one is research and policy research, policy development, and advocacy. Balloon just reaffirmed its strategic plan for 2023 up to 2028. And right now, Balloon work in conflict prevention. We have a two program in conflict prevention, and the first one is early warning and early response system, which we especially gathering data, incident violence data in whole country. But right now we just focus in 3 municipality, and we already have a commitment that with UNOPS, that we're gonna add 3 more municipalities. So the total municipality which we wanna cover is around 6. And in this six municipality, we cover 3 administrative posts in each municipality. But ideally, we will cover for whole administrative posts. I mean that 6 administrative posts, because Dili is as the center of the community. Everyone is there. There is the center of people to looking for the job, education, and other things. So we cover for all of them. And our strategic, which we were using for the data collection, is we have a data collector. I mean that enumerator, which based in each sub-district, and they will detect the incident violence, and then they inform it to the municipal coordinator. Municipal coordinator is our staff. We pay them monthly as a salary for monthly. Then they work for especially for data collection, data verification, and also organize and do coordination with other key stakeholders. So when the enumerator get the information, they will inform it to, will fill out the form and then give it to district municipal coordinator, and municipal coordinator verify it. Then they will enter all of the information by tablet and then send it to our server. The app which we use is ODK aggregate and ODK data collection, which based on a tablet, so or mobile phone, so they can collect the data offline, then send it when they are online. So it's really effective for us right now. And we after verification from the municipal coordinator, they will send it to our website. Then the management team, the early warning and early response management will do verification to make sure that the data is correct, and then publish it. So our database web, we call it address www.address.balloon.tl. I can share the link when by email if you want. Then all of the data which we cover, we collected. After 3 months we will do analysis and then send back to our data to community level, because in each administrative post which we cover, we already have a network we call CPRN, conflict prevention, conflict response, conflict prevention and response network, which the member which in that group is coming as a volunteer. They are like as a veteran, as a teacher, religion leaders, cultural leaders, and all stakeholders which in that area. So we will do trimestral meeting and share all the data to them, and then explain that what's happening in the community, and then ask them to do action plan. So it's based on their needs. So the action plan we're gonna do on the to prevent the conflict is not coming for us, but it's coming from them. So they will own the activity. We just facilitate them. Right now, the data which we collect up to right now in our database is almost 6,000, almost 6,000, 5,000 something, almost 6,000. But that's not for whole municipality. I mean, from all municipalities, because right now we just get some fund from the government, which coming from under prime minister. They just cover for 3 municipality, and we gonna and in 3 municipality we will not cover for whole municipality. Sometimes we just cover for 3 administrative posts in each municipality. So, and then sometimes the duration of the data collection, sometimes it will be only for 3 months or 6 months, and then we stop and then continue again. It depends with the donors. So it's really challenge for us. It's to do the data collection for whole country.
So that's a really comprehensive overview. I really appreciate it. I actually have a couple of questions for you. The first is around the types of data that you collect. You say that you collect predominantly incident data. Is it only violent incident data that you collect, or do you include other data streams?
We also we do collect for 2 type of information data. I mean that one is incident violence information, and another one is monthly we call it situation information. So we call it so every month one monitor, one enumerator will be filled out based on the form which we have. I mean that in situation form we have the monitor to look at like infrastructure, economic, social, and politics. So we have all of them, but and also that information also up to they upload it to the website, but it cannot do in our website. We also have a mapping which in that based on those information, but for situation information it's not really complete. We have before we do that with the 43 or 68 monitor, but right now it's so small number, so it cannot change, cannot represent the whole country or whole municipality to say that okay, this municipality gonna be have a conflict potential for the next month or another next month. So we can know that. And those data usually before we use based on the trend which we find, we also do a deep analysis. I mean that deep research for the cases which we see that the number is go up. Like if there is a youth fighting every month with the high number, normally we have to do research why it's happened and give the recommendation, our recommendation to the government to be considered.
Thanks. That really clarifies some of it. So from kind of bird's eye view, it sounds like you have a bunch of community data collectors. All of that data goes into kind of the municipality coordinators that are your staff. They insert it through this app that goes into a website. And then you talked about verification and then entering it into a database. And about every 3 months, you do data analysis and you feed that information back to the community and the CPRN. Can you talk to me about what that data analysis looks like a little bit?
It's not really deep analysis, but we just put together what is the number of the incident which happen in each administrative post, and what kind of incident it's like a higher incident and which happen in that administrative post, and then sit together to who is the perpetrator, and who is the victim, how old are the victim, how old are the perpetrators. So just a brief, like it's we cannot say it as a analysis, right, but just put them together and then and have discuss with the authority in the administrative post level.
So it sounds like it's a little bit more like descriptive analytics, right? Like, so understanding what's happening, who are the perpetrators, who are the victims, and then doing a disaggregation of that population. Understood.
Yes.
So what kind of actions are being taken on the part of the CPRM that's informed by your data?
Yes, based on the data which we have, usually we done some dialogue among community. Like we just facilitate in the 6 or 7 months ago, we facilitate dialogue among a community which they have a conflict about the ethnic conflict. It's in Covalima, and also we facilitate dialogue among youth which is coming from martial art and ritual art. And we do to prevent the conflict. We also do. We also have an activity or program which we call mediation. So we also have implementing mediation in two judicial municipality. One is in Baucau Judicial Municipality, which cover for 4 municipality like such as Bikeke, Lautem, Baucau, and Manatutu, and another judicial municipality is covered for another 4 municipalities such as Covalima, Ainaru, Manufahi, and also Bobonaro. Those we do mediation, and we just done last month we done research for the effectiveness of the mediation to the community.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. One of the reasons why I'm always so enamored with the work that PIND is doing is that you not only utilize this information within your community, you also put together these situational awareness maps and newsletters that go out. Can you tell me a little bit more about those situational awareness maps?
Okay, we do before with the arc view, but the arc view is it's really at that moment is based on Windows later the old Windows. I mean, it's XP or something, Windows 7 sometimes something, and we also have a mapping on the website, but it's not really accurate pinpoint. It's just like okay, based on sub-district level. So that's why I think that we really need a mapping, someone to help us to map our activity, our data on based on post level or even just based on SQL level to know to show the community that in this in our area it's what color it means what, and then also give warning to the community that that's okay, this is the high potential of the conflict.
I think that leads us into our next questions really well. I love that you are starting off at Balloon doing some of this mapping and thinking through some of the things that need to change for the early warning system. Can you talk a little bit more about what you and Balloon would really like to do with your early warning system? How would you like to evolve the system to include more methodologies or more technology?
I think that balloon system it's improving since we are starting, right? Before we don't involve like GBV, incident data on that, but we already when we work with UN Women, we already involved it, and right now we like. We have a lack of resource. You know, we cannot do our situation information. I mean the situation data to map it on the to do it as a mapping on the website. So that's why that's because of the limitation of the resource. Because you know our number of enumerator is not enough to represent the whole country or whole municipality, and so the community or the authority. I mean the decision maker to say that okay, this municipality is a high potential conflict, and also I think that we need a system, probably just in case we wanna review again some of the question which is not relevant or to the current situation, like regarding on IDPs, because right now there is no more IDP, so we have to change it a little bit again and then put in and also we already planned that we will sit to, we're gonna change it a little bit and make the the question is really focused to the point. I mean that in our question, in situation question, we just focus for general sometimes. Like for example, how is in this month there is a young people who go out from the for the sub-district level to find a job, but we don't focus for youth men and youth girl. So probably we wanna
Some more
there's some
disaggregated information
yeah,
to
that's right.
create more precise interventions is essentially what you're trying to say. So it sounds like
Yeah.
there's it's always about resources, isn't it? So there's a resource limitation that's preventing you from getting more comprehensive and more granular data.
Yeah.
What else? Like, talk to me about like the technologies. You've already got apps that you're using, but like, are you connecting with universities or other organizations to help do some of these other analytics?
Yeah, I think also we have no special data analysis specialist like before. So it's hard for us to do deep analysis because the number of staff is now is so limited, so limited. So one, like in our organization right now, like one person can be handled for 2 programs. So it's a little bit hard for us to. So we really need a person who focus for the data analysis. So we can call it a data analysis specialist.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to resources, does it?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you had the chance to join some of these other sessions for the Data for Peace conference, but there's a lot of conversation in high income countries and academia around some of these higher analytics, things like artificial intelligence, things like natural language processing, looking at social media as a means of collecting data. Have you had any of these conversations at Balloon? Have you thought about like what does the big grand universe of data analysis look like? Kind of like really projecting forward if you did have more resources.
Yeah, we already discussed that to each other. I mean, amount of us that we're gonna change a little bit the methodology of the data collection. Right now, we are using enumerator for collecting the data. So we are thinking that we will change it a little bit and using local authority like village chief, aldea chiefs. I mean that Halman chief to collect the data. So we don't need so we can have a lot of resources. I mean that people which can support us information. But we also use sometimes we utilize social media, especially for Facebook right now, because in East Timor, it's a high number community using Facebook, but we also think that sometimes there's a lot of hoax, hoax in Facebook. So we can sometimes we have to careful and do a good verification.
Yeah, no, always there needs to be verification of data, whether it be data collected from the field or data collected from social media. There's always going to be some version of fake news out there. So that verification process is certainly important. So one of my last questions that I have for you before we open it up to the group is, this Data for Peace conference is attended by hundreds of like academics, practitioners, policymakers, all these sorts of interested parties. How do you think that these groups can kind of come together to support effective and localized early warning systems like the ones at Balloon?
Things that the really important is you mean that they wanna localize the early warning in another country, you mean, or in the just in our country? I just focus for in our country.
I think you could speak to both. I think that you have experience and wisdom for kind of both situations, right? How do they support you locally as Balloon, but also how do we really start kind of democratizing the space and creating science that's relevant to local communities doing early warning and early response?
I think the program is it's really important, and now I think there is a lot of organization already implementing in another country. But the context is not this. They are not the same. You know, every country they have a different context. So sometimes it's a big challenge also to implement in early warning and early response in another country for the incident data. I mean, but for another program like for environment, that I think there is a lot of program, our organization already focused for early warning and early response in their country. But when we come together, we give idea to each other. I think it will be really helpful for the organization which implemented, because learning from the experience to share the experience to another and getting experience from another person is really helpful. Sometimes experience is really different with the academic. Sometimes it's yeah, of course that the academic is it's really important, but sometimes we need experience to implement it also. So I think that if we work together to become as a network and help each other, like sharing to each other, it's gonna be really helpful for us.
It's almost like you're a plant, Romualdo, because this is one of the things. So for those of you in the audience, we undertook, so the HHI Signal program undertook this gap analysis over the last year that looked at like this digital divide between what is being done and produced within academia and within high income countries and what is being done with frontline atrocity and conflict prevention workers. And that gap is so huge. And then afterwards we came together, we did some key informant interviews, and we had working seminars to try to figure out like what are the challenges between like in order to bridge this digital gap. And one of the big things that everybody said is that we need a community of practice, right? We need this network of people to come together, to share their experiences, to have this kind of learning and exchange so that
Yes.
we can take all of your expertise and start integrating it into our solutions. And we can start talking about the types of technologies and the types of data that are being utilized in these other contexts. And maybe those are the types of things that you can incorporate. But unless we're talking to each other, unless we are engaging in this community of practice, then we're going to continue to operate in these silos. So
Yeah.
I appreciate, I didn't tell him to say that. So So I appreciate that this is just kind of like, I think everybody is starting to feel this really deep need to start having these conversations with each other. And that's why we ended up building out our community of practice. So we have a LinkedIn page and we also have the Atrocity Prevention Lab. And the idea is exactly that, right? To kind of help build some literacy around technology and methods, to help build communications, to shout out the work of some of the folks like Balloon and Pinned and Empatiku and some of the other groups with whom we are working. So if folks are not aware of those communities, please certainly reach out to us. We can get you in touch with them. All right. So it's on the half hour. Unfortunately, I still don't see Mira on the line. I wonder if she got our times mixed up. She is in a very different time zone than the rest of us, as is Aldo. So I appreciate you coming. Do we have questions from the group? Let's see. I have at least one. So from Melina Nathan, I apologize if I misspoke your name. Excellent sharing by Aldo Catano. Given the limited resources, which is a real challenge for all community-based EWER, I think it is a shame that if EWER becomes a data and research, I think it is a shame if EWER becomes a data and research initiative. This is great for researchers, but it's unclear how useful the data is used by communities themselves. I'm hearing a lot about data collection, but I'm not hearing very much about response. Has EWER via Balloon led to prompt response to escalating conflict that deterred or prevented violence via the actions taken by local authorities? So it sounds like they want to hear a little bit more about that data to impact gap.
Yeah. Yeah, as I was mentioned that we are not only collecting the data, but based on the data which we collected, we also find out the solution. In our local context, we have a cultural two cultural ceremonies which normally we used to one is to prevent the conflict, and another one is to resolve the conflict. We call for the conflict prevention, we call it Tarabandu. So it's the community normally like to using for the band people to people with another people. I mean that violence or conflict among people to people. And then people with animal, people with natural. So there is a lot of people which cut tree everywhere and make the water resources is lack of water resource can be happen, and also landslides. It can be slide can be happen. And also we have another one is we call it Tara as Nahabiti board. It's almost as a community dialogue. So we use that to do a conflict resolution. As I mentioned, that we the data also we share to the government. It's free for government, and we do use the data to do advocacy to the government, especially for the decision maker. In our local context, we especially for the parliament member to consider it, because and most of the government side recognize that our data is help them to make decision, to make planning, especially for planning for the government budget. So they can the fiscal year, I mean, planning for fiscal year for the government side. We also working with the PNTL, I mean that National Police, to prevent the conflict. Like if we see that if there is a high number of the conflict, we usually have discussion with the PNTL to make a plan that how they can prevent, so the conflict can be reduced in the place which has a high potential of the conflict. And
So
there's a lot of.
oh, sorry, go ahead. So it sounds like there's a lot of different ways in which the data that you are the data products that you are producing might be influencing either the prevention of conflict or early response or even like resolution. You were talking about how you feed it back to the CPRN, the Conflict Prevention Response Network. I remembered this time. And they come up with an action plan, but you're also feeding some of these data products to the government, the parliament, and then to the national police. So if you get these signals of increasing or escalating violence, it sounds like
Yes.
the police you'll work with the police to identify ways in which to perhaps intervene relatively early or help de-escalate or something along those lines. From a governmental standpoint, it sounds like the data products that you were sharing with them are a little bit more on like the policy side and budgeting side. What types of things do they budget for? What are you talking about when you're saying like they're budgeting for peace building, they're budgeting for economic development? What sort of things have you talked about with them? just broadly?
There are, for example, is the budgeting for youths. There is a lot of conflict among youths, and they have to know that they have to know that what's the root of the conflict. There's a lot of things which contribute to the conflict among youth. Like for martial, right now, the high conflict number, high number of the conflict in the youth is martial art group, among martial art group and ritual art group. It's because of unemployment. That is the one factor which contributed also. Education also. So they can we normally use this data and try to convince to them. I mean that to approach them to so they can consider it and then doing the number. And also, for example, before there is a lot of conflict occurred in a dark area. The PNTL consider it. So we in our data also identify where is the area of the conflict. So they can right now they already install CCTV, like a fading camera, and there, so they can use it to detect the perpetrators. And so that's the things. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys need a mapping dashboard. That's what. There was another question in the chat. There's one easy question for you, which was, have you ever considered something like a Slack community as an easy informal community to practice? Do you know what Slack is, Aldo?
I don't know. Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's okay. So Slack is actually just a different form of communicating. So it's like Microsoft Teams or kind of an augmented WhatsApp where you can share things, you can share resources, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of different ways that these communities come together. Besides within Balloon, do you have like WhatsApp channels or other ways to communicate with practitioners in the region? Like, what is your mechanism for like coordinating and discussing things?
Yeah, especially in Balloon, we have a municipal coordinator. He or she is the one, our key a person on each municipality which we cover. So she or he know very well about the local authority and also municipal local. I mean the municipal the president of the municipality and its structure. So we communicate, especially or normally we communicate with them. But we also have a lot of network with Balloon join. Like Balloon involved in conflict response network in national level. So all institutions which are doing the conflict prevention, we are partners in one group. I mean that we have a WhatsApp group. We coordinate with by our WhatsApp group, email, and others. So those and also we have a really good relationship with the government side, even in national level up to a hamlet level. So that is the way that that is the opportunity for us to how to engage to them, and then sharing our program if we need their hands or their some helps. We can just coordinate with them, and they really appreciate with our data. In Timor, in East Timor, only Balloon has data. That is the unique one. So
Wait, can I reinforce that statement? You said in East Timor, only Balloon has data.
Has data. Data.
It's a big thing to say.
Yeah. all of the organization, even the government side, if you go there and ask their data, they say that, oh, this is, this is, you have to blah blah, and it's really hard. You can find the data. Even the director, they don't know where is the data.
But so you provide such an incredibly important component to this whole process. So I mean, I really appreciate the other thing that you said is like having these relationships, right? Data is fantastic, but having these relationships, having buy-in, having I would say like the authority and the entrustability of like a lot of these communities is really important. I think one of the questions that also came in was something along the lines of, let's see, how much data processing and verification is needed for conflict prevention, right? Like, does the amount of data processing, does the time and the resources needed to verify the data get in the way of providing early data to the appropriate decision makers? Does that question make sense to you?
Yes, I think that we have a limitation date of the verification data. Normally, which are in our implementation, that when our monitor identify the incident, they need only 2 days to report it to the municipal coordinator. And municipal coordinator only need 3 days to do verification. After verification, in 3 days, they have to upload it to the website. Yeah.
So that's a short turnaround.
Yeah, and management should be do verification every Friday. Every Friday will be do verification for whole data to do up to upload it to say yes that this data is correct. And we have in 2 weeks we have to write our situation review report every 2 months. So after 2 months, the third month, in 2 weeks, we have to write down the situation review. Then we have to publish it to our audience. In our situation review, we don't really analyze the situation, but we already write a little bit about why conflict it happened and how conflict it happened, who is the perpetrator, and how age are them, and other things. And we, because of lack of the resource, and we have no conflict specialist right now, so we don't do a deep analysis to write down policy brief. Before we have a policy brief, our policy brief, we have to publish it every 3 months. In that policy brief already has a recommendation and other things, and we have already have deep analysis for it.
So it sounds like there are different timelines that we're talking about here. So the kind of long-term, deeper analysis takes about 3 months. You do the bigger contextual analysis of economics and ethnic tensions and all of these sorts of things. The shorter turnaround time. What is the minimum amount of time that you have between receiving a point of data and giving that information to a decision maker? Because it seems like, right? I mean, certainly 3 months is too long to intervene on a conflict. Like that's kind of like bigger long-term work, right? But on the short term, like what is the shortest turnaround you guys usually have? Oh no.
Yes.
Ramon, can you hear us, sir?
Sorry, I lost.
Okay,
yes,
so
it's okay.
The question was, what's the shortest turnaround time in order to be able to go from data to impact?
Yeah, it's depend on the cases. I mean, on the conflict. For example, we when we have a conflict among government one of the veterans who call name Magmuruk at that moment. We do when we get the information, we all directly just in 2 or 3 weeks, 2 weeks. We try to analyze it, the information. We try to get much information regarding on that conflict. We directly to go to the PNTL and then do advocacy. I mean that have a discussion with the PNTL so they can solve the conflict without weapon.
Yeah.
But it's because of the decision of the government. I mean that the leader. So sometimes we cannot prevent it. And if it's a high potential conflict, I mean that the impact will be to the community, a biggest community. Then we try to do intervention. I mean that we have to we try to have a discussion with the decision maker, like if there is a fighting among youth in a in a Dili area. We automatically, when we get information, we contact to the PNTL to prevent the conflict will be enlarged in another place. So they have to.
So it sounds like there can be a really quick turnaround if something seems to be escalating. It can be like as fast as you get a piece of information, you can turn it around and say, hey, we haven't necessarily verified this, but you need to know about this situation. So it can just be as fast as a phone call or 2 phone calls, which I understand. And I think our audience is really pushing in on the fact that research and deep analysis is really important for certain types of activities. But there's also this like need to really take data and turn it around very quickly in some circumstances. So I appreciate that. So are there any other questions from our community members here today? I really appreciate some of this digging in on timelines and on outcomes. Is there anything else from our community? I'm going to give people a second. And during that time, I'll let Aldo think about if there's any final things that he'd like to say. One of the things that I'm a little bit kind of bummed out, unfortunately, that some of our panelists didn't make it today, just to show you the breadth of the types of work that people are doing. A lot of what Romualdo is saying is very similar, right? Like they do rely heavily on like volunteer community data reporters. They collect predominantly incident-based data. They do some larger situational analysis, but for the most part, a lot of the data collection is around incidents and violent incidents. And oftentimes, it does come down largely just to descriptive analysis or like summary analysis, where they do some disaggregation around who are perpetrators, who are the victims of the violence, but there's not this like higher level analysis. And there's also a large amount of resources that are needed in order to take additional steps to start integrating some of these kind of faster, deeper analytic options. So I've got one more question from the group, and then I will let you perhaps give us your concluding questions. How many women and youth are involved in EWER at Balloon?
Okay, we always consider, because of the gender balance, I think Balloon also has a gender policy. We adopted it also. So we always involve women on our structure. Like in EWR, we have right now we have 7 people and three women. So four men. So it's balanced. And also, if we conduct any even like a dialogue, something like that, we always have to involve women, especially for people with disability. and also LGBTIQ+.
I love it.
You know,
I
you know,
really appreciate that call out to kind
yeah.
of DEI
You
efforts,
know,
diversity and inclusion efforts.
yeah, but sometimes it's hard
It's
for
hard.
them to involve. Yeah,
Yeah.
even we invite them already, but we can find it in national level. I mean that in municipal level. But if you go down to the rural area, I mean that in the hamlet or in the village area, then it sometimes it's hard. Even you do prioritize for their participation. We try to engage their network. I mean that the LGBTIQ network is in East Timor also have. So we try to invite them and ask them to organize to find where we can invite them directly so they can
Yeah.
come to our.
And I think increasingly our community is coming to appreciate that unless you're centering or including and amplifying like the perspectives of people who are outside of these like normative privilege structures, and it's so important. Unless you do that, we're going to exclude them from not only the data but also all of the actions that are going to lead to their well-being or not lead to their well-being. So I
We also
appreciate
face
that.
some barrier. We also face some barriers, a barrier like cultural, also a barrier for us.
Yeah,
In
of
in
course.
in Timor, in East Timor context, that women cannot lead a cultural. You know,
Yeah,
so but we always try to communicate to the men. I mean that traditional leaders. Um, I mean that they can involve women. They don't need to involve women as a lead the event, but at least they can involve women to participate and contribute some idea that it can be
yeah.
helped. So they also consider it.
But I
But
do appreciate the efforts for sure.
yeah.
So for final wrap up, I suppose my question to you is, what is the future of early warning, early response systems? If you like can imagine it, what is the ideal future? And then we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the early warning and early response system before we discuss with the government because of the government has a lot of resource. They are the power in a country. They have a big resource. So we try to discuss with them so they can come also, they can involve or they can work together with us to enter all of the information on the system so it can be easy. So and also we already discussed to them to use our database as a national database and still in ongoing discussion, but we don't know. They agree with that or no because they decided their data sometimes is as a secret, so they cannot share it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I hear you.
yeah,
But
yeah. So
the ideal world, we break down these barriers, right? Where there's like data sharing, everybody does the right thing, we have infinite resources. So yeah, it sounds very similar to a lot of the things that I've heard from other practitioners. Having a national database that has multiple indicators, that is, everything, all of the indicators speak to each other. There's resources for analysts, right? Like these sorts of things. So yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody's time, Romaldo. I really, really do appreciate your time. Is there do you have any last words for our group, our community here? Do you have any final last words, Romaldo?
you want me to say something?
I was just wondering if there's anything else that you're aching to say, or
I
are we
think
all
that's
set?
enough. Yeah, I think that EWR is it's important for all of us. I mean that, but it also depends on the context. What we want to do. What is the objective of the EWR itself? So we have to, but for sharing to each other like this, I think it's really important to to add our knowledge, to increase our knowledge. Learning from each experience, it's good. It's good for us. Thank you. I hope that we can sharing our data, then it will be used for all of participants who attend this meeting.
I really appreciate you taking this time to dive really deep into this conversation. So thank you everybody for joining us. Aldo, thank you again, and I hope you have a lovely evening. And for all of those who contributed to the chat, I appreciate your engagement. So have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.